The town is still standing.
Excellent.
I would say that thankfully it was only an automatic fire alarm, and
Okay.
it's our second one of the day, so it's been a busy day.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the way it seems to work, though. I don't know. I got this thing on my finger. Do you ever see one of these before, Larry? It's a bow band. It's a new company by a gentleman who is a jeweler. His name is Neil Frana, and it's a bow sling,
Yes.
but they're fitted
Brooklyn.
rings
Okay.
that go like this. So
Index and thumb.
so I measured my fingers.
Mhm.
He's a new sponsor for the podcasts and stuff like that, and
Ah, okay.
he's a barebow shooter, but these things are just phenomenal. It looks like,
Mhm.
they're made out of a durable plastic. They're fitted, and
Yeah.
they're adjustable as far as length, so you can set it to whatever length you want. I'm actually pretty excited
Okay.
about it. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Looks
So
good. Yes, I
anyways,
practiced my bear bow a little bit with my stretch tube.
oh yeah,
Yep. Yes. Well, getting ready for NAS.
oh that's right. How's
So,
how so what are you doing?
uh, well, I'm making sure that I got to anchor, transfer to hold, tighten, tighten, tighten,
Finish.
release. That I start, not only am I at hold, but then I start a build up to release.
During the build up, the point has to be wherever your gap is. So most NASP kids aren't able to aim in the middle of the target because the bows are not that just aren't
Yeah.
accurate and they're not adjustable.
Yeah, the bow and the arrow length and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably at 6 o'clock blue or
Yeah, I think at 15 yards they'll be able to aim close to the middle.
Mhm.
10 yards they usually have to aim quite a bit low.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
so that's
Anyway,
cool. So
I
diving into
just
the
have
NASP.
to train myself to establish hold and then elevate to release. Because
Yeah,
I never ever did that when I was shooting recurve as a teenager.
yeah.
That was unknown.
Well,
I had a system. I had a system for aiming and all of that, but what I couldn't tell you how my release was established. I can't remember.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean the release is really a thing that you need to train separately and just make it as
Yeah.
flawless as possible. But as long as you
Mm,
the concept is you keep that mind managed side of the shot. I'm actually
uh-huh.
developing a series about this right now, ironically, and
Yeah.
at the whole the form side as well as the mental, I'm calling it the software side. Um
Yeah.
and it's definitely, you know, you have to get to hold and you need to allow yourself to consciously stay and hold until you are allow yourself to flip the switch. But and when I say that, what I mean by that is that's where you switch to body
Shift.
feel. You just got to
Shift.
put it there and leave it there. Just stay. Sooner or
Mm.
later it'll switch, but you have to hit conscious stay or conscious
Yes.
aim.
Right. And that is uh, at the beginning is a mind manage step. You've got to get there, check it off the list. Yes, it feels good. Now shift to
Mm-hmm.
your explosion or to your swelling up of pressure inside, however you want to describe it.
It's yeah, it's definitely going to be a unique experience for everyone, but it's good. I'm glad you're
Wait.
diving into it a little bit. That's kind of cool. It's exciting.
Oh, well, that's my beginning. That's why I have records at Scout Camp that are still there.
That's too funny.
That's a long time ago, Frank.
That is a long time ago. You're not a young, you're not a spring chicken anymore, there, Mr. Wise.
No,
So
I'm into fall.
what are we
Yeah.
talking about today?
Okay, it
Here's
is
mental
the
management.
building blocks of performance: preparation, result, response. And how athletes in general, many athletes in general, if they do a repetitive action in their sport, they must work through these 3 steps, this cycle, your performance cycle. It goes by many different names, but it is a 3-phase cycle. And in that cycle, you must learn what you have control over and what you do not. And so that's the purpose of laying it out in a presentation, a PowerPoint, and
Sure.
so on.
Okay. All right. Well, you have sharing capabilities, so you should be
It's
able
not
to.
up now.
What's
It's
that?
not up on my share board. It was a while ago.
Let me check it, make sure it still shows there. Yep, share screen. Allow participants to share screen.
Yeah. Well, okay. So
Here, I have another. I can also
share.
make you the host,
Well, that boy, you're risking it there.
or maybe a co-host would be a better idea, but I'm still recording, so it's okay.
Okay.
You see the share button now?
Well, okay.
Don't worry, I can edit all this out. Nothing?
I'm not getting it up on my share board. I had it up there before. Okay, there it is.
Oh,
Okay, I had to click out of that.
Perfect. There it is.
Oh, you're seeing it?
I do.
Whoa.
So you just gotta share or start from beginning.
It's always best to start from the beginning.
Yes, it is.
Is that full screen for you?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay. And this is PMG Edu 102. All right. Peak Mental Game Educational Series. So 102. And so moving on. So like we discussed a minute ago, when you perform a repetitive set of steps in your athletic event, in your sport that you've chosen, or maybe some other application. And we do that in our jobs a lot. Okay, so when you do this, you have a 3-phase cycle that you work through. Okay, and briefly, they are the preparation that you go through in order to launch an arrow, for instance. Stand at the foul line to shoot a foul shot and launch the ball. Stand on the pitcher's mound to throw a pitch. Bowling, horseshoes, on and on, all the sports that I've worked with, kicking a field goal, place kicking, punting, kickoffs, shot put, discus, javelin, lifting a weight if you're an Olympic weightlifter. So you prepare. And there are two groups of skills that you prepare: mental, physical. And we'll go into this in a little more detail in a couple of minutes. But that's the first block. You prepare, you perform your sport action, and in our case, the arrow is launched to the target. And so we have a result. And this is where people make it way too complicated. And they look at the result and allow too much to happen. Only 4 things happen. We'll discuss those. Only 4 things. One of 4 things happens when you launch an arrow and it lands in a target. Once you view that result, then you respond to it in some way. And how you formulate this response is critical to your future success. All right, so we'll discuss each of these now in a little bit more detail. So we have to prepare mentally, physically. And here is the big announcement about this preparation. Okay. You have complete control over what? When you're preparing. Over every part. You have total control of that. Okay. So if you're unprepared in part of it, you have only yourself to blame, right? Because you are in total control. For instance, on the physical side, exercise regimen, your diet, sleep habits, how you've practiced and managed your steps of shooting form, a training plan, how you schedule, how you work through a practice session, the things you do in a practice session. So all of those you have complete control over, and this is not all of them. Just for our discussion here, that gives you an idea of some of the ones that are part of building your physical skills to complete an archery shot. Okay. In mental skills, goal setting, that's part of the mental game. Writing the training plan, and how you interact with a coach, and self-talk statements that you design and recite to yourself. That's part of the mental game. How you manage focus shifting, and how you design the mantra that you use during that focus shifting, understanding different kinds of focus, conscious focus, and understanding and applying eye focus as well. We're learning a lot about how important that is in a lot of applications, a lot of sports, but other applications as well. And so that's why I have the research project going. And you're going to be involved on March 4th down at Lancaster Archery, and we'll collect a little more visual data.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Learn a little bit. Yeah, it's fascinating of how how much your vision, how big a role your vision plays in executing an archery shot. Way more than just a little aiming at the end.
Yeah.
So we'll get to it. Okay, so we prepare all this. We are in charge of this. We're in complete control. And so that gets us to the point where we're at full draw and the arrow is launched. And at that instant, then we're done preparing, right? We did our job. And so the arrow traverses across some amount of space and lands in a target, we hope. And here's where archers make this way too complicated. And but our society does this to us, and we have to learn to do better. So, major announcement. After the arrow separates from the bowstring, you no longer have control. 0. And so sometimes the wind robs us of points, and the lighting robs us of points, shadows, all of that, right? A lot of different things. Rain, okay. Hail, I've not experienced that. I'm quite sure that hail is going to affect your arrow and beat it down to the ground. Yeah. But rain was a big one. And, after 15 minutes in the rain, you start losing distance. The arrows start going lower and lower. You don't have any control over that.
Yep.
So knowing that, when you view the arrow or arrows in the target, keep it simple and think about one of 4 possible things that just happened with your arrow. You shot well, and the arrow scored well. Right. Good shot, good score is a simple way to put it. That's one of 4 possible things. I think you see what's coming here now. The second one, you shot well, did all you could, as good as you could, but the arrow scored not as high as you wanted. It's a 9 instead of a 10, or maybe it's worse. Maybe a vein flew off the arrow on the way to the target, and you have a 2. I mean, that could happen. All right, but you shot well. And of course, the other side of the coin is you perform poorly, and the arrow scores well. So this happens. It's happened to me several times. I had an arrow get away from me on a 40-yard target, just as I don't even know if I was at full draw in a tournament. And I heard smack, and the arrow hit paper, and I thought, oh, Lord, at least I'll find it. Oh, I looked down there, it was dead center in the X. Dead center in the X.
It's a good and a bad problem to have. It's a good
Yes,
problem where the arrow lifts. The bad side
wow,
is
how lucky am I? But
up here.
That shakes you.
It makes you okay. Yeah, it makes you think everything's okay, and you really still have something to work on.
Yeah. And then you shoot poorly, and the arrow scores poorly. And yes, this is usually what happens with a poor shot. Okay. People tend to do more than this. They tend to view the arrow differently than one of these 4 things. And that's where judgments come in. People begin judging themselves because of where the arrow landed in the target. And when you get to the emotional side of things and start beating yourself up, then we have problems. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about this. Okay. So here's announcement number 3. Once you view the arrow in the target, you must formulate a response. And again, you have complete control over forming this response. So what you are going to do next is entirely up to you. Nobody is going to make you do anything. Your decision. And this is where people have let the emotions get in the way and start their judgmental thinking. Okay. And so you must separate your performance from your self-worth, from your self-image. All right, you can't go there. But our society has us thinking about results. we're judged by results constantly.
Yeah, constantly.
And
you don't need to tell me.
yeah, but shooting an arrow is just a task. And I relate it to taking out the garbage. If you drop it and spill some of it, well, you pick it up and put it back in the can and you keep going. You don't stop to judge yourself.
Yeah.
No, it's just a simple task. All right. Okay. But that's hard. It's hard to separate these.
Sure.
Right? It's hard because of what our society does to us all. Okay, so succeeding or failing at a set of tasks should not determine your character. It's just an arrow in the target. That doesn't make you a failure or a bad person. It's just an arrow in the target. All right. So it was in the 7 ring. Okay. Then you have to strive a little smarter on the next arrow to see if it gets into the goal. All right. But that does not determine your character. In fact,
Right.
the fact that you're there shooting and trying to improve yourself speaks a lot about your character to the plus side, right? But if you respond poorly and throw your release onto the floor, okay, or into the dirt, that does maybe reveal something in your character that you may want to fix. Okay. Yes.
There's some life lessons to that statement.
Oh yeah. Yes, how you respond is entirely up to you.
Yeah.
And that does reveal some flaws in our characters, and we've all responded poorly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And so when we discover that, and most of us do, and admit it,
yep.
Some carry on as though, it's okay. But anyway, yeah. So we admit it, we rethink it, and take steps to change how we respond. Okay. So we have 2 choices when we respond. Positive, you can be positive. And if in the case you made a good shot, you controlled what your preparation was and launched the arrow effectively, then you need to repeat that action. You must make that mental note. That's your response. I want to repeat that. Even if the arrow did not land well, if you shot well, that's all you can do. Right? Maybe you'll check to see if the arrow is flawed or change your sight. Right? Aim off center because of the wind. If you perform, then you must quickly make a mental note of how to improve that for the next shot. And then to repeat what it takes to make that next shot a good shot. Right? Loading the back comes to mind, since that is the most important thing we do to make an archery shot. So make a correction in your stance or your head position, or how you put your tab on the bowstring, how you held the release aid, on and on and on. For me, it was always, okay, I got to stand up with good posture. I get to slumping.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that would get me a poor result. And then, it's, come on, stand up.
I think an important part of this of the line item B here is knowing the steps of your shot process, and knowing like
Right.
what specific things cause this to happen at the target, number one. Number two, even if you don't know what caused the arrow to go where it went, that you make a conscious decision anyways to make sure that a specific thing is still addressed on that next arrow. So, I guess from a compound perspective, just basically stating like, okay, I thought the shot was good, but I, hit way low. I hit bottom of the 9. It didn't make a lot of sense. So I'm going to make sure that my front shoulder is down real good in that proper position while I am expanding through the shot and not allowing that shoulder to creep up, which, it's a lot of
Causes
times
the low arrows. Oh yeah. Yeah.
will cause
Weak
those low
shoulder.
arrows, or that pin to get stuck low. If you can't lift an arm easily this way once that elbow's up, you have to be able to pick apart your shot a little bit. Like, hey, I don't know exactly what I did, but I'm going to pick something to improve on anyway.
Yeah, and sometimes it's better to go on and ignore. Don't try to figure it out because it may be too big of a puzzle.
Yep.
So you just review your shot process, your steps of shooting form,
Yep.
which is again why we learn by steps.
Yep.
And yeah, this is what really puzzled me when I worked with 7 other sports in preparing to write my book. Not one of them had a list of steps for their form. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I never did. I did Olympic weightlifting and CrossFit, and I never like the whole. Yeah, I mean, what's that?
So with those steps, when you know them, right here, if you had a poor performance, now you can self-analyze and do it quickly.
Yeah.
So that when you move to your next repetition, you can do a better job at that next shot or that next lift or that next kick.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. What the struggle part, I think the struggle bus with like Olympic weightlifting, for example, there's 2 specific movements that you do. You practice so often the individual movements with accessory movements that you practice them to be able to subconsciously do them. So like you're doing them because you can't consciously lift the weight the same way. You have to allow your body to act in the subconscious to do it. That's where it differs from archery, for example, in some ways. But it's a lot of people struggle to define those steps that are being done in the subconscious side of things, which in archery, that brings to light the idea of, well, you have to do a little bit more mind managed stuff than you realize. But anyways, continue. Sorry to derail.
Well, they in working with my weightlifting coach, Olympic weightlifting coach, Art Dressler. So we spend a lot of time developing the focus map and eliminating the steps. And so now I have to get back with him and tell him how much the visual plays into that. And because we're learning more about the vision.
Right.
So, yeah, if you know your steps, you can do a whole lot to help yourself right here. And that allows you then to move forward in the positive, because the alternative is the negative. Man, I don't know what I'm doing. That arrow should have gone in there.
Yeah.
And now you're in a negative frame of mind, negative emotion also. And maybe you start judging yourself. And so then the game is officially in the toilet. Yeah. So that's why we have to have a plan. Got to have this plan here. Keep it simple when you look at the target. There's 4 things could happen, and then make your response accordingly. Okay, so here's your complete cycle. So we prepare mentally, physically, and that gets us to the instant when the arrow is released, and after a second, a half a second or so, the arrow's in the target, and 4 things happened. One of 4 things happened. And based on that, then we can make our response and move to the next shot or the next kick or the next throw, whatever you're doing, and prepare it effectively and keep the cycle going in the opposite of the toilet, okay, in an upward spiral instead of a downward one. Yeah. So understanding now, when you're preparing, you have full control over all of that. And the arrow is launched, and as soon as it separates from the string, you have no control. So while we're here preparing, it makes little sense to be thinking already about the arrow and the target because you don't have control down there. So keep your thinking back here in the present with your preparation. So that's how this all relates to the mental game. And that's why we plan out a focus mode. Then once you see that result in the target, it's one of 4 things. Make the appropriate response, knock the next arrow, and move on. So that is the archery performance cycle, or building blocks of performance. And
It's gold.
you need to understand that. What can I control? What can I not control?
Yeah.
And you have to accept what you cannot control. That's hard to do.
Yeah, and I think there's levels to that still yet, and especially on the barebow side, because barebows are so hard. And while in some ways we definitely make it harder on ourselves than it needs to be,
yeah, by self-judgment.
Yes, for sure. But it's the mental patterns. And let me just elaborate. I don't want to go too far into this. I want you to finish the presentation.
This is it. So go ahead.
I thought so. Okay. So why don't you stop sharing, Larry? Just so we have a full screen.
Stop share.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, sir. So, and just to give people an example. So for the last 4 years, and we're going to talk about this because this plays in the role within the journey that I'm in right now. The last 4 years, I have not concentrated on competing. I have solely concentrated on coaching and obviously the podcast. And it's been detrimental to my shooting. I can still shoot okay, but like not at the height of my archery back in 2019.
Right.
When I was shooting barebow with the best of the best, and it was definitely but like the volume of arrows that I shot and the mindset were different. And so 4 years of not being in that mindset actually has taken a little bit of a toll on my confidence and on that. Like, I can't just pick up the bow and shoot at that level with barebow. Compound is an Olympic recurve, or without a doubt a shorter cycle. I've proven it before. It can be done. Barebow is a different animal, and it's a different animal because of target panic, because we deal with target panic directly. So, this weekend, like my shot cycle has changed. It's a very calm shot cycle now. I just hold the tip of the arrow in the middle of the target. And there's very few compound Olympic recurve shooters who will be able to pick up a legitimate barebow, put it there, and just put it in the middle, without just blowing out of the shot. And
yes, that happens.
Oh, 100% happens. Very, very.
Yeah, me with fingers. Oh my.
Yeah, it's just a different animal. So like this is one of those things where this weekend, shot target nationals. I shot okay. It was nowhere near my personal best. But I really only started physically training 3 weeks ago. I shot some amazing arrows. More a higher volume than I have in the last 3 to 4 years, for sure. And you know, it's my biggest struggle is keeping my mind in that mental state, the same mental state, every single arrow of the
Right.
ones that I have complete control. If I do that, I damn near won't miss the 10 ring, even with bare bow. That's how accurate you can be. But the commitment to being in that mental state is the thing that I struggle with the most right now. And there's, in the last 4 years, one of the biggest struggles with that is all of the other responsibilities, all of the other stuff in my brain. It's so easy to get distracted when you have
Yes.
a lot going on.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of thought shifting
tons of
in
thought
the brain,
shifting.
and when you shift from one topic to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, there's
Yep.
always residue
Yes.
hanging there,
Such a good way to
cluttering the
explain it.
shift.
Yep.
And that's, you know, that's research is
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. I would love to know what that research is and bring it up and talk about it, because like that's definitely, with all of the things that I do, and this right here plays a little bit of a role. You
Yeah.
know, so I don't think it's the matter of shooting the arrow that's the issue. It's the matter of giving myself permission to only focus on one thing at that tournament and during practice, because
Yeah.
I have so many things going on. Getting adjusted to cutting everything else off and just concentrating on that one thing,
Uh-huh.
100% is the thing that I'm struggling with. So,
And then there's this.
oh yeah, that does not help. 100%
Boy,
does not help.
this drags you away constantly and wants to control you.
Yeah.
And yes, it is tough. It takes great discipline. And
Yeah.
that was one of my strengths all the time I was shooting.
Yeah.
I have, and of course, it's one of my best attributes and one of my worst failings,
Amazing how
because
that.
I'm focused on something and I don't hear my wife.
Oh, I do that too.
But so, but
Too funny.
and yeah, so maintaining your focus intensity, your conscious mind control
Ooh,
intensity
ooh, ooh.
for 60 shots is a really, really tall order.
Yeah.
But
It's getting better
that's
though.
why we
Larry.
shoot archery. We're trying to meet that challenge
Yeah.
and better ourselves.
Yep. So with that being said, just to explain to people who maybe listen to this with the hopes of trying to get some help, 2 goals. One, I've shot more tournaments this in 2023 than I did indoor tournaments than I did the last 4 years. So that's one priority is I would need to put myself on the shooting line more and score arrows under a clock. No, no exceptions, right? So that's number one. Number two is work diligently at putting myself in that mental state every practice arrow.
Yeah.
And when it's intentional, there may be days where I just do flow practice. There may be days when I'm just doing drills, but
Yep.
still really trying to put myself in those moments, and the thinking through those patterns of the way I want this arrow to go. You know,
Yeah.
and
So
a higher volume of arrows on a regular basis, like daily.
yeah, during your practice session, you could set your clock, set your alarm for a certain time, like 8:15. And so you've been practicing for 20, 30 minutes. Your alarm goes off. Now it's time to step to the line and score.
Oh yeah. Yeah. A lot of times I'll just shoot 1 or 2 practice ends and just go right to score anyway. Score is what it is. I don't really get, I'll be honest with you, Larry. I don't get relatively upset over a bad arrow. Arrows that's not real good scoring wise. I don't get really upset over that anymore. And I don't get upset over like total score. I get upset over not having the control, knowing like you're a dumb. This is what you need to do, and then try to take that negative, because I do get negative occasionally. You're a dumb, and turning that, okay, no, just what you have to do. I will shoot this arrow.
That self-coaching. Yeah, that's going to come out. You
I'm sure.
Stupid jerk. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But you cut it off instantly.
Yep.
And okay, this is what I have to do to make the good shot.
Yeah.
And I have to load my back and repeat.
Yep. Yeah. So I have a new shot process that is very specific to they're defined checkpoints for barebow. There's defined performance points for your shooting form, and it's all part of a system. You know about that. So that I'm working on and defining it so that people who are getting into barebow can say, here, like you can just lay it right out and say, here is the shot process and mental management for the barebow shot. Here it is. This is it. Without, pursuing the world archery side of things. Here it is. This is the ticket. So like I'm defining that right now, and I have it written down. I have a list of steps.
You wrote something down.
I did. And I have everything like organized that I put in my book. So
I'm rubbing off on you.
You are. You definitely are. Well, yeah, 100%. So
yeah, well, and if we could tailor a focus map to that.
Yeah, we'll have to work on that sidebar.
Yeah,
we will, for sure. Yeah. Well, all right. Good stuff, Coach, Mr. Larry Wise. I guess we'll see you in a few days, and for everyone else,
I'll get the next one ready.
So what is the next one going to be? Let's let everybody know.
When?
What?
Okay, the next one is, I'm pretty sure. Podcast. Oh yeah, on focus mapping.
Okay, perfect. Oh, that's
we left off there. We just mentioned that in the first podcast, 102.
Oh, going through the focus map will be great.
Or pardon me, 101, we left off there.
Yeah. You can use your camera and like physically put that down and run through it.
Yes, I have my document camera. Yeah,
we could possibly do that or make that part of it.
Yeah, so I'll plan it that way.
Perfect.
That's 103. 104 is going to be on target gaze.
Can't wait for that.
Yep. A little more on that. 105 I have as positive self-talk. And on the list goes.
Y'all could use that one.
Well, yeah. And it's so easy. Anybody can do it, but you have to do it.
I mean, yeah. I agree. There's other things that I got going on that I'm doing also that are on a personal level, fitness wise, recovery wise, some other stuff. So I mean, and I'm gonna get into that too with a doctor friend of mine and talk about some of that stuff. So
good.
All right, Larry. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yes.
And you have a wonderful day.
Thanks you for running the technical side, because I need training on that.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I got a couple questions for you. So
okay. All right. Well, listen, I'm just gonna stop recording and we can talk. Okay.
Yeah.